Good morning, it's Dr. B. It's March 26th, a little bit after 10 a.m., and we're going to do the first video of the week. I'm beginning to realize that I'm doing 2 videos every week, and that's fine from my side of the street. The first one I'm going to start calling the housekeeping video because I try to take care of some of the administrative details and pieces of what the course is structurally expecting for us to spend less time on that on the second video. The second video is going to be a content video, as I did last week, and it will be out over the next 2 days, I'm guessing. I'm not sure, but I would say probably Monday or Tuesday. I'll shoot for Monday, though. Couple of things to point out, and we'll go right to the agenda, which will be posted today, but probably changed between now and the time I'm altogether finished, just to get it out in front of you, and so that you can get the link to this video to get a head start on any of these kinds of things that so many of you are so professionally conscious of, and to your credit, responsible for. Can't say enough about the quality of these new people, and if I had any regret about this course, it is that I haven't had a chance to meet you. I've spoken to you, several of you on the phone, but there's the pluses to asynchronous, and there's the minuses, and in my mind, that's a huge minus. No sense beating that one to death. I get the idea that most students seem to prefer the asynchronous, and I can understand why, but I quite frankly don't see it as the most effective way to work you through, and especially this group, this cohort who's together in the project leader expectation, who have so much in common and have so much intellect among you to really promote each other. The only way you can promote each other is responding to each other's discussion questions, which you don't do as well as I wish you did, although I understand that sometimes it becomes problematic. Enough said. So I'm going to share the screen, and bear with me. As you know, my mind goes from left to right sometimes. And here we go. Okay, here we go. You'll notice that the link isn't up yet because I haven't gotten the link from YouTube, because I haven't recorded the Zoom to YouTube yet. And then there'll be a second link that I will add to this agenda a couple of days later. And that link I will go right to right now, so you'll know where I'm taking you with that. That would be the content goals. You notice I kept chapter 4. Those of you who care about these things, I'm not moving into chapter 6 on Cozy yet. I kept chapter 5. I think 5 is a critical chapter for the content of this course. And even though we finished the Fulham book, in my view, chapter 7 still has a lot of things we should be talking towards. So that I'm staying with those 2 chapters. So you can see that the readings are essentially the same. And the other thing I wanted to point out in terms of the content, I'm going to come back to this tomorrow, in a couple of days. I want to speak a little bit about family engagement, and we're going to continue those videos that I showed you in the last premise. So let me go back up to them, and then I'll move away from this for the moment. In the content video, which I think came out last Wednesday, in the content video, I showed you 4. 2 were not necessary to repost, but there are 2 more, and there's another one I posted in here too. So there's really 3 here, except I haven't moved it up to this place yet. You watched about 6 minutes of I think about a 12 or 13-minute video about the McREL change model. And then you watched about 6 minutes of the Simon Sinek video about leadership and change. Sinek is a pretty popular person. I've only come to become aware of him maybe the past 2 or 3 years, but the man certainly knows how to rev up a crowd to get them to pay attention to different things. So you should be watching those videos if you haven't already. You should probably watch all of them, and I'm going to be commenting to them in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day I get the content video up. So that is part of the links I put up. There's one more. I might as well go to that one too. I don't know where I put it. Where is it? Here. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Yes, I'm going to take this out and put it there right now. Is that the one? I'm talking to myself. Yeah, this is the one. I'm going to cut this, paste this up high so you can see they all kind of go together. Again, these are not issues for you to worry about today or as you're watching this particular video. I'm just preparing an infrastructure for the things we've been talking about change, and hanging my hat big time on the change piece. Now, let's get down to the housekeeping things. Oh, again, the agenda continues to hold the same videos. They've been on every agenda, so certainly you can find them. The agenda just lists some things that you can always go back to get more information for any number of premises that we're talking about. The goals for today are to talk about what the journal assignment is for the 26th, as well as the discussion one. Actually, these wouldn't be due to 26th, would they? They would be due, let's call those 4-1. So you don't have a panic attack. Oh my heavens, something else is due. And actually, I may even push those back farther because I know I am going to push them back farther. I'm going to call them the 5th. The 5th is the last day before the little Easter break we're going to have. So I want to get them done before the Easter break so you can go get your chocolate bunnies and enjoy yourselves for a bit. Here are the 2 discussion questions, and this question is the one I'm going to spend the most time on this morning. You'll notice, and I know I repeat myself, and I know I repeat myself, and I know I repeat myself. The last 2 weeks and now this 3rd week, what I've been trying to do is build in to this template. First, I asked you to pull together a goal. I haven't seen them on your discussion responses. I got to come back to that. I have to talk about that. The goal and framework of an issue that you're looking at. And now we're moving towards a strategy. Now this is the key piece here. It's a strategy is a way to meet the goal. So if you say, I want to lose 10 pounds, what's the strategy? Not eat. All right? Simple as that. So you can see how this is set up format-wise. I have a goal and I have a strategy. Now, there's one strategy here already, and that's the needs assessment. That's the first strategy I want from everybody. Everybody uniformly must have some needs assessment ideas. Talked about it a million times, and I think we go to the next, and that's clean enough. This is an example of another strategy. All right. Just to make it clean. What you're going to do now is come up with the ideas that you think will meet the goal you have. Now, if you don't know what your goal is, if your goal is fuzzy, and I have not been able to give you input on that because I haven't seen a whole lot of posts about that yet. As soon as I see them, I'll respond to them. Presuming that your goal is okay, all right, let's give you the credit for that for the moment. I'm going to presume that. I mean, offer you some suggestions to clarify them, squeeze them a little bit, but presuming that they're basically in the right place. Now, after the needs assessment, how are you going to go about doing the next thing? I would suggest that you put target your root causes as another piece of that. But that's really, in many respects, the same premise as the needs assessment. Well, let's put another one down. So I know I keep thinking of the 2 people whose goals I've seen. One is the behavior lady. I think that's her last name begins with a C. And another lady, I think, offered me up something about the gap. between E&L students and by the way, this is about the multi-age classroom, so I'm only using E&L as an example. But I'm fine with you staying with E&L. I think you probably should do that. Was talking about the gap between the achievement of the general education population in comparison to the ELL population. Typically, as you know, there are certainly gaps associated with that. So now we're into, okay, well, after you've done your needs assessment and after you've picked out root cause issues, perhaps parent engagement or parent ability to work with you, collaboration. In many cases, I have found that the general education population isn't a whole lot of, unfortunately, interested in collaborating with the ELL teachers, if only in a peripheral way. And that speaks to a lack of shared vision, if you think about it. So one thing you might want to do is say, I'm making this up as I go along, review the extent to which faculty shares the same vision. Oh. And sometimes I call that the emperor's new clothes strategy. Sometimes people talk to talk, but when you press people along a little bit, the truth is they don't share the same strategies. Lots of reasons. Some of them very selfish, and some of them myopic, some of them stupid, some of them selfish, and some of them lack of just based on ignorance. So when any of those issues come along, I mean, we think that you as a project leader would need to work on that. So that would be a strategy, right? Another strategy for academic achievement gaps could be assessing the pluses and minuses of the ELL students in comparison to the academically of the general education population. What can the gen ed population do that the ENL kids can't do? Now we know some of that's pretty obvious, but some of them may be a lot deeper. And so, if you can figure some of that out, that would lead you to really come up with some really good strategies to solve your goal. All right. So that's where I'm coming from on this. And go back up to the discussion question. I need you. Now you've already given me a theme and you've given me some goals. And that all belonged in that first top left-hand corner. And now I want you to give me one, he shouted, strategy. I don't want 10, I want one. Later, I'm going to ask for about 5, but not now. First, just give me one. Post it in the discussion section. And again, I'm looking for the rest of you to offer points of view and comments about them if you think that you can help somebody formulate what they're thinking about. Just one strategy. Now, this could be a little bit confusing. Even the video I have posted could confuse you a little bit. When I say that, there's not a whole lot of a difference between a strategy and a goal / objective. But in my mind, there is a distinction. A strategy is a mini goal. And that might be one way to look at it. It's a mini goal whose sum, SUM, when you put them all together, add up to meeting the big goal, whatever your big goal is. Just give me one. That's the discussion question. Okay. And in green, you see there's also this premise of based on the video posted on the 21st, which was the second video on that premise, identify and relate issues, dispositions. You know what? I'm changing that. I'll leave that blank. I'm going to take out this. There will be no journal this week. I'm overwhelming you people. I know, and I don't want to do that to you. So it won't be. I'll write down none. Happy Easter. We'll go from there. However, there's another thing too. You see, this is in blue, and I'm deliberately being not vague, but I'm deliberately being extremely flexible about this. You recall before March 16th, or maybe a month, at least a month in advance every week, I would remind you that in lieu of the parent engagement expectation of the course, and at the request of the project leader administrators here, and that would be Dr. Spiridakis and Murphy, and Dr. Kodak, to promote people to want to attend the conference that was held out here on Long Island. I gave you two options, really. One of the two options was to present at that. And there was two of you I know whose names I never remember. One lady's name began with a D, and I apologize to the other lady. So you're waived, W-A-I-V-E-D. You're waived from any other expectation. You did presentations, for everything I've heard, some wonderful presentations, and good feedback from you about how things went with that. So you are not responsible for anything more associated with that competency. You're done. If you weren't doing a presentation, I had asked you to contact your building administrator or chairperson and ask for permission to promote the workshop, the conference. I don't know if any of you were able to do that. No one said that they couldn't, so I'm assuming that you could try. And what I did was, if you can show me how you presented that, how you tried to present that communication to the parents and the stakeholders in the buildings in which you work, that would satisfy my parent engagement assignment. and also the internship competency. And I was going to give you 3 hours for that. So, but I don't know how or whether you did it. So that's why there's this blue premise now. And as I let this marinate in my own mind about how to approach that, because I see a yes but to where I'm taking you on this. So forgive me for reading to you, but let's do that together. I'm going to call this the Parent Engagement Project, the one that had to do with the Wading River Conference, and in order to fulfill the goal of parent engagement in the course, as well as the internship expectation that I have to sign off on. So I wrote, please email me. I don't want this in Canvas yet. I want you to email me. All right. How you attempted to promote the March 16th parent workshop that the project leaders presented at. What did you do? Who did you talk to? How did you get the word out? What did you learn from it? Communication of any project, especially one that sounds as though it was really solid, notwithstanding where it was, is something all administrators need to learn how to do, how to promote people attending these kinds of things, and then hopefully finding ways to follow up from that after the conferences are over. Not knowing whether you were able to do that, and I could see there would be issues where sometimes your administrator doesn't want you to have anything to do with that. I can understand that. I regret that for you, because it's a skill that you would want to be able to practice. Nonetheless, what I need you to do is explain how you worked with your cooperating administrator to publicize this. I need you to specify this, again, in an email. If you present it, since I know at least two of you actually did, but if you didn't, then tell me what you did. Okay? Now, I wasn't there. And all I need you to do is to tell me what you did. If you honorably tell me where you were, not where you were, but what you were able to do, that's fine. If you came back to me and said, hey, my principal would not let me communicate with the community, with the faculty, would not let me do any of these things, and he shut me down, I wouldn't be surprised. Or something else happened that you weren't able to do that. Believe me, I understand that. And I excuse you on one level for that, from that account. That's why I wrote this last paragraph here. If you were not able to fulfill this expectation, please tell me why, because I'm sure there are a lot of reasons for this. I understand that. And then I'll have to get back to you with some kind of compensatory assignment. And I'm not going to punish you because the administrator wouldn't work with you. I'm just going to have to give you something to at least address the competency from the PSEL point of view. So there's some moving parts here. So email me what if you were able to attend. Hey, that's great. If you presented, even better. If you were able to promote and publicize that the conference was going, tell me how you did it. Tell me what you ran into, what worked and what didn't work. How would you do it again if you had another chance to do that? I'm not looking for a dissertation. I'm looking for a couple of paragraphs as such. If you were not able to do that, then you need to tell me why you were not able to do it. And then I have to circle back and find something for you. And I'll I'll work with you on that. Give me a phone call and we can work something out that might work for student X, but wouldn't be necessarily something a student Y would be able to do. And I'll clearly, obviously, try to keep those things even in terms of the kinds of work you had to invest in. So I know that's a little wishy-washy, but something, again, we all had to work with in order to meet the needs of the project leader expectation, and that's where we're going. So let's go back to the top. In yellow, there is a discussion question. Give me one strategy. And again, the video that's in there, this one here, will help you with some of that. Give me one strategy, not 1,000. In the end, I'm going to ask you for about 5, but just give me one. Post it in discussion. There will be no journal question. I'm always tempted to give you 100, but there will be no journal question this week. And as good as you are at responding to them, I really enjoy the thinking that goes on with that. But there'll be no journal question because I'm giving you too many things to do. So we'll slow down on that one for a bit. And then this is parent engagement expectation. And I need you to email that to me before the Easter break, and then I'll respond to you whether there's anything else we need to do with that. Okay? And then the rest of this is, I think, I've already talked about this strategy, but let me do it one more time. You'll see that, I'm not sure what page this is. This is 3. On page 3, I kind of have like a recipe list. And when I use the word recipe, I break out in a rash because it troubles me that I tell you, take 2 teaspoons of culture analysis and mix it with a bowl full of organizational structure analysis, and then mix them together and let them sit in a corner while you do something else. It's not how change works. It's linear. Most changes do not work left to right. They spiral in and among all of themselves. That's why it's so hard to really have change occur, and even harder to sustain it. And that's why we keep doing things that we did 100 years ago. There's a book by Alvin Toffler, Toffler, written in, I think, 1961, called Future Shock. I think his wife wrote it with her. I forgot her name. And basically what they said it was then, prophetically, that the world is moving so fast. And this is 1961, mind you, that's 60 years ago. All right. So the world is moving so fast. Technology, it wasn't only about technology, it's about acceleration of sociology and population shifts and all the rest, that people are actually in a kind of state of shock. Don't know how to respond to these things. Things are coming at them so quickly. And so people turn to often negative behaviors to compensate with this shock that they feel, like suicide, like addictions, like turning to criminal activities. Those are 3 that they speak to. And prophetically, as I said before, the book still makes sense 60 years later. We are in a state of culture shock. I think probably I'm editorializing here. I hate to tip off when I'm old, but I'm trying to understand the TikTok thing. I have an 11-year-old grandson who's way more into it than I would let him be, quite frankly. And I was reading some things about it over the past couple of days, and I was, wow, and that's just one example of the acceleration of social media that no one could have predicted for 60 years ago. And or cable news, and the things just come rushing at you. How can you make sense of the things that you hear and see? And so what people do is they kind of shut down and they lock into things that they want to believe, even if they may not altogether be true, because they haven't got time. Sit down and read their palms, or read tea leaves, or assess something in a systematic way. I lament that, quite frankly, but nobody cares what I think. But I'm doing it. But it's I hope you care a little bit, because I think I'm making some sense. Now, when it comes to education, Toffler had a very famous phrase, which was that today's education system. Now, mind you, today's education system was 60 years ago. So today's education system faces backwards towards an industrial age that no longer exists 60 years ago. The United States was a huge manufacturing country at the time. It no longer is. It manufactures information and what works with information and ideas. You don't make a whole heck of a lot of steel, those kinds of things. Maybe that's a bad thing. I'm not sure. But certainly that's what you call the industrial age. But Toffler goes on to say that we face backward, that word, towards an industrial age instead of facing frontward towards a post-industrial age, which is what we're in right now. As far as I don't know anyone have any idea what will come after that, but or when this is going to end. Sometimes I would be afraid if it does end and what that might mean. And so, if we're talking about change, we need to understand that we don't understand change as well as we pretend that we understand change. Especially if in your case, when you're trying to put in place, in theory, a multi-age classroom approach.
Okay, I found this on the web for In Theory TH Classroom Approach.
That's a post-industrial age approach to making schools better. Now, if you lay in the template or the issue of ELL, I never get the initials right, forgive me. Wow, which is again an example of a post-industrial age. The ELL population trends. And we'll talk more about that up the road when we get to some futuring premises. So here we go. I have this model, and the model is district ABC, and develop a smart number, number two, to generate a SMART goal for analysis. Use needs assessment for your first strategy. Consider whether you're going to use SWOT or culture analysis, organizational structure analysis, root causes, 5 whys. What are you going to look for? Okay, we talked about this already. And then you're going to are you going to use surveys or focus groups, or survey and focus groups together? Are you going to sit back and watch how things evolve, or run panel discussions to get your arms around the issues associated with the change you're looking at, thing you're trying to solve? Those things I think probably do work pretty much in a linear way, left to right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it gets a little more convoluted after that, which brings me to number 8, which is this yellow one. So you got a goal, even though I haven't approved it specifically yet. You've got a goal. You've got an issue that we're aware of. Right? That's fine. Now I'm saying, tell me what strategies you're going to use. How are you going to solve this? And I gave you one example. So the purpose of this needs assessment is to explore all issues associated with academic gaps between ELL students and general education students. It's a great purpose, pretty good goal, But yeah, how do you go ahead and do that? So what you do is you go to number 9 and you look at, you carefully identify multiple ways per strategy. Oh no, I'm ahead of myself. Let me stop there. I'll leave it at that. I will tell you the next thing I'm going to do is little coming attractions is then I'm going to say how are you going to evaluate the goals? And that's where the rubber meets the road. Because in schools, the only way we know how to evaluate things is really pretty badly. And that's when we use test scores. In your case, the nicest lat, or, any kind of standardized achievement test. That's not the only way we should be evaluating whether the gaps are changing. But it's the one we know how to use, so that's what we use. And yet there are other ways to do that that require much more thinking. So I'm planting an acorn between your ears to move to the next place. So that's where we are. One strategy. Watch that video, it'll help you a little bit. And then let's go back to the top. I repeat myself. I know I repeat myself. You have the discussion question, one strategy. No journal assignment this week. Okay, tell me what you did to promote parent engagement in an email. Know that we're going in the next video, continue to concentrate on chapter 5 with Dr. Koza and chapter 7 with Fullen and Hargraves. And I have a couple, and we're going to go back to those, finish those videos, and I'll probably add another one in there before I'm finished. Okay, so I think we'll stop there. It's probably the world's shortest Bernardo video with this class. Oh, I wanted to say too, several of you have spoken to me, not several, but 2 or 3 of you have called or emailed me and said, I need to know what I owe you. And for the moment, you don't owe me very much if you're doing the discussions in the journals. The action plan design at the end of the course is the major assignment. Another assignment is the family engagement piece, which I think we're going to be able to compensate for by what we spoke about before. There's also 2 case studies, and I'm holding off on those because I'm not sure how I want to approach those yet. So if you're doing the discussion questions and you're doing the journal assignments, and again, those are not every week, and you're doing the reading, and you're staying in touch with me by way of the discussions, and I with you, I've been trying to be better at that, and hopefully you've all noticed that. You're okay. If you'd like to call me, email me, or FaceTime me, not Facebook me, but FaceTime me or Zoom, whatever you would like to do. That's fine too. I would love to meet you. I am super busy this week with dissertations, but I will make the room for you if you think it's something that you need to speak to me about. Certainly make the room for it, because I should, to help you get this course under your belt as you move forward. Enough said. Have a great rest of the week, and I will have the content video up. I'm shooting for tomorrow, but not promising. Take care.